God's scattered and exiled people celebrated their return with sacred festivals and worship. Today's lesson is about how we as believers should ask God to help us maintain joyful worship of God who is worthy to be praised. There is a noticeable distance in time between Ezra chapters 2 and 3. The children of Israel have returned home to their land, bringing a substantial amount of wealth along with them. This is for the sole purpose of rebuilding Yahweh's temple. We read in Ezra chapter 2, verses 68 through 70, that the people built homes for themselves before even establishing the foundation of the temple. This later ignites the rage of the prophet Haggai, as the Lord commands him to rebuke Israel for their distorted priorities. He asks, "Is it time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses, while this house lies desolate?" And that brings us to our key verse for today, which reads, "They celebrated the festival of shelters as prescribed in the law, sacrificing the number of burnt offerings specified for each day of the festival." Ezra chapter 3, verse 4. The individuals prominent in this verse, Jeshua and Zerubbabel, represented both the priestly and royal roles of Yahweh. The divine and political authorities of Israel were not only present, but led in the construction of Yahweh's altar. Being united as one, they were accompanied by their spiritual and political brothers. Even more impressive is their recognition of and return to obedience of the law of Moses, or the Pentateuch. After reading the Pentateuch, they realized the supreme importance of the Lord's altar and the significance of the burnt offering. Fear can cause us to do many things. Some are good and some lead to bad consequences. Regardless of this fact, the intense emotion in most cases will cause some form of action. In an odd set of influences, fear led to the urgent construction of the Lord's altar. The serious threats from neighboring ethnicities and cultures around them influenced a troubled and frightened Israel to seek the protection of the Lord. The reestablishment of the altar of the Lord brought about a resurgence among the people of Israel. It encouraged them to seek the Lord and worship Him in their culturally traditional ways. They found written in the law how the Lord had commanded through Moses that the sons of Israel should live in booths during the feast of the 7th month. The Feast of Booths was a celebration of remembrance pertaining to the time Israel had wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. This was a consequence of their rebellious disbelief in Yahweh. A particular observance of the burnt offerings was emphasized also. Within this offering, a male ram, bull, and lamb without defect were sacrificed on the altar. Having the animal's blood sprinkled during the ceremony was a means to satisfy Yahweh and was a soothing aroma to the Lord. Worship of Yahweh on the altar remained constant and strong among the people of Israel. In particular, we have the burnt offering, which served as the primary sacrificial ceremony in reverence to the Lord. Another interesting addition pertains to the people groups aiding in the reconstruction of Yahweh's temple. Non-Israelite people helped construct the temple of God, even if they never physically worshipped there. Jeshua and Zerubbabel sought the support of the Sidonians and the Tyrians. Without this support, obtaining the material to build the temple would have been extremely difficult. This is following another pattern initiated by David and Solomon. David and Solomon both used the efforts of non-Israelites to construct the first temple of God. So here's our lesson. What observance or sacrifice do we need to reinstitute, to restore and rebuild our relationship with God? Unbroken fellowship with God is so vital to our existence and peace of mind in today's perilous world. Our praise and worship bring us into God's presence and protection. Our continual disobedience only stirs the wrath of God and places us in a position to lose our greatest possession, our relationship with God, the source of our praise, worship, and more importantly, our joy. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to iLights. Heavenly Father, fill our hearts with what we truly desire, for who we truly seek is you.